afternoon, good evening rather. It's 6 o'clock or a little after. So hopefully our viewers that have been waiting on us since 6, we apologize for that, but we are here. We are here for the premiere of our program, Lens on Real Estate. And we want to thank you, first of all, thank you for sharing your time with us. You didn't have to, so we are thankful that you did. My name is Diane Scott, and my co-host here is Angela E. And Angela, say hello to our audience.
Good afternoon, or evening, as Diane said. I'm glad that you took the time to tune in with us. I think we're going to bring you an exciting show this evening. We're going to be talking to our broker, Scott Realty. But this is our premiere show, so we definitely want to give you the best that we can do as far as a lens on real estate. Welcome.
And just to recap, we did our pilot program back in October, and we told a little bit about the reasoning behind Lens on Real Estate. The name itself, Lens on Real Estate. I'm going to give you a little analogy here, and so you can kind of see where we're coming from with that name. And I thought about an optometrist or ophthalmologist. As we all know, when we go get fitted for glasses, they're going to put this lens or equipment in front of our faces, and it's going to shutter all kinds of lenses. So you can get different views until that correct one comes up. So that's what we want to do in our program, Lens on Real Estate. We want to open up the real estate world to you in different avenues that the normal person outside of the real estate industry. Now, you can also view us on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. I think we might be having a little bit of technical difficulties on Diane's part. But as she was saying, you can see us on Facebook, you can see us on YouTube, and also on Riku. So we're bringing you this podcast this evening to enlighten you, and we're going to have a lot of different type of guests that all surround the real estate industry, as well as we're going to talk to you about just kind of what we're doing in real estate, what's going on in the market right now, in addition to just giving you an insight on your real estate aspirations, whether that's buying, selling, or wanting to be a real estate agent as well. So, as I said, we're going to get this going here shortly. I think Diane having a little bit of technical difficulties. She kind of went out. Let's see what's going on. I think we're having a little technical difficulties also, but let me just speak a little bit more about real estate and what real estate is doing right now. As a real estate agent, we still are really busy, and the market is still, people are still buying and selling homes right now. Um, Still buying and selling homes right now. So don't be afraid to jump into the market. Hold on. I think Diane is coming back. I believe she's coming back. I'm so sorry. This is our premiere show. And so I think. Hey, Sabria.
Hello.
Well, I think Diane is having a little technical difficulties. And so I think we're just going to try to keep moving on. I think our tech support is trying to get her, get things together. So we're just going to kind of keep going on so we don't lose this time, because I know your time is so valuable and you're so busy. So just a couple things, just to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do and, what's your role in real estate.
So I am the owner and broker of Scott Realty Professionals. We are located where our main office is located here in Savannah, Georgia. We have another office in Garden City, which is also in Chatham County, the main county for Savannah. And then we have an office in Bluffton, or, some people call it Okatee, but, it's in the Bluffton area in South Carolina. So we function in 2 different states. And we have 3 offices, although we have agents that spreads out throughout Georgia, in different areas in South Carolina, but we service the South Carolina and the Georgia area.
Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome. So, real estate, I know a little bit about you just because, well, I'm one of your realtors in your firm. So I'm excited to have you today. But just tell us a little bit, how did you decide to get into real estate?
So it's funny because when I was young, I used to always ride around with my aunt. And when I say young, I mean like in middle school, right? I used to live with my aunt here in Savannah, and she would waste a lot of agents' time. She would call them and have them showing her houses, and know that really wasn't where she was in terms of buying. And I really enjoyed that. She'd ride around and look at homes. And I realized, you know what? That's something that I like. Now, during that time in middle school, of course, I didn't have any real estate agents around me. So I didn't really know what that looked like, right? So I didn't know how to be an agent. I didn't know anybody that was an agent. So it wasn't something that I said, okay, I'm going to be a real estate agent. But as I got older, went on to high school and then graduated from high school, then I realized, oh, this is something I can definitely do. And I've always been a salesperson as well.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome. Well, so once you got past that, what year did you start your own real estate firm?
In 2013. So in 2013, Scott Realty was born, and it was not by choice. So I tell people all the time that many times God plays tricks on you sometimes. He kind of does what he want to do versus what you want to do. So that wasn't my intention. I'm the type of person that I don't have to have all of the headache. I don't have to be in charge. I just want to be in charge of what I got going on. So, but I was kind of pushed out and forced to move into my own company. And then from there, it just all fell in place. So, I truly know that these were definitely things that God wanted, that he put in place. So it's not always what we want to do. But, initially, when I started school, I got my undergraduate degree in early childhood education and my master's degree in special education. I didn't even want to do that. I want to be a physical therapist. See how God works? But he made me a teacher to actually make me a better instructor, a better agent, a better broker. So it just all worked hand in hand.
Okay. So explain to us a little bit about what's the difference between being a real estate agent and being a broker. Is there a major difference in that, or?
Yeah, so it is a difference. I wouldn't say, it just depends on to what capacity. You know that because you're a broker, right?
Yeah.
And Diane is a broker, right? So in y'all capacity of being brokers, it's not really so much different from being a real estate agent because you're an associate broker, but you're not a broker of a firm where you have the responsibility or you're over agents. But a broker can be the managing broker or the owner broker of a real estate company, and basically whatever those licensees do, whether it's good or bad, it could definitely reflect upon that broker and the brokerage itself. So you become responsible for all of those agents or how many ever agents that work for you, versus if you're a real estate agent, you're only responsible for self. Wow. So you only have to deal with or work with yourself and have consequences only for yourself. But as a broker, if you guys go out and do something that's wrong, I could be potentially liable for those things.
Okay,
Sabria, now you've been a broker since 2013, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so give the audience a brief history of Scott Realty Professionals.
Well, Diane, you was out for a little bit. I know you had a little bit of technical difficulties.
Yes, I did.
But Diane, Angie E. and I kind of went over. Scott Realty was born in 2013.
Okay.
And I also talked a little bit about my education, and I talked a little bit about how I got into real estate. What made me interested in real estate.
Okay, good. So then we'll just go ahead and move on then. Since you've been a broker and you've been a broker for a few years, then you've been the ins and outs. You were dealing with the crash that happened in 2008, in the early 2000s. So now here we are, 2020, COVID-19 occurred, and that impacted everybody. How did that impact Scott Realty Professionals?
Well, I will say that, it did impact Scott Realty because, of course, at one point when the initial shutdown started in Savannah, we were not a part of the essential workers. So then it was like, okay, do I go show houses or not show houses? If I get caught out, is that going to be an issue? So once the mayor, which the mayor is also one of my friends, I reached out to him and I let him know how essential we were and how people's lives depended on us. And we had people that were relocating from out the area. We had people that had no place to go if they didn't close. So not only should we continue to work, but also attorneys and lenders and just everybody in the industry that's helped making it possible. So then we became essential workers. So that is just awesome. So we were able to keep working, but there was a slowdown a couple months during the pandemic. I would say that March, April, May, but then it kicked right up. And then, you also know we're in the market. Then the market just went bananas. So we've experienced a market in the last year or a year and a half that we've never seen before in the last 20 years in real estate. So it's still different from what it was, even though the market was super hot in 2006 and in 2005. And, back then, you could state your income, anybody could get a loan. So you just had buyers from everywhere getting loans. And some of those buyers were buying houses and they shouldn't have been, should have never even been qualified. But we're dealing with a market where we had a pandemic that had a huge effect on how our market performed and just everything that happened. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. And that's something that we have not, in my 20 years had not experienced.
You are so right, because like you said, your 20 years, and I've encountered so many realtors or even brokers like yourself who've said they have never, ever seen a market like we went through. So
absolutely.
Quite interesting. Okay, I don't want to overtake Angie.
All right. Yeah, I was going to welcome you back in, but anyway. So, I'm glad we got your technical
Things
difficulties.
happen, well, these technical things. So we overcame. So I'm back on it. I just don't have the backdrop, but we'll get that dealt with and know how to deal with that the next time.
Okay, so you were talking about the different things that's happened since COVID-19 and how that impacted us, and it didn't seem to, as far as realtors, we were able to kind of persevere and keep kind of working through. So in July 2021, I know you, I think about mid 2021, you had 106 transactions. Tell our audience about what that means when you have that many transactions just halfway through the year.
Right. So what it means is when we say transactions, that means closings or sales, right? And you can have two transactions in one transaction as well. So just keep that in mind. You can be on the buying side and you can also be on the selling side. We at Scott Realty do sell a lot of our properties. We also co-op with a lot of our agents, which is also a blessing. But so 106 sides or transactions mean that I had 106 transactions in the month of July. That is a lot. Of course, it is definitely a lot. And it takes a lot of hard work. It takes, a lot of effort, a team, so it's just not me that's running around and showing all the houses, that's writing all the offers, that's just doing all the work. But also, it takes staff. You definitely got to have people in place and resources available to be able to support that. But that's huge. The average agent close about 12 transactions a year. Some people say 8 to 12. And if you Google it, most of the time it's between that 8 to 12. I always go with the higher number. So let's just say 12. The average agent close about 12 transactions a year. So I do typically close, a minimum of about 140 or a year, whether the market is up or down. So I do have a huge transaction, goal that I have to set for myself, but also I got a lot of overhead. So you got to keep those things in mind as well.
So that's awesome, Sabria. That is definitely exceptional. So how do you, as a real estate agent, how do you have work-life balance when you're kind of trying to juggle all these things, have your own firm, close your own transactions, being an active realtor? Because I know there's some firms that the broker don't actually do any transactions. They just manage the firm, so to speak. So how do you manage having work-life balance?
Well, it's very difficult. Like I know, Angie, that real estate is not so family friendly. So, a lot of agents come in and they think, oh, you look so cute when you close and y'all just making all the money. But that's usually not how it really happens. It's a struggle a lot of times to get to the closing table. Once you get a buyer under contract or a seller under contract, it's usually a struggle to keep that deal pushing forward. So all of that plays a role in your everyday life. Sometimes if something goes wrong in a deal, it can change what's happening. You could have had plans that you were having dinner with your husband and kids at a certain time, and now something is going wrong and you got to try to fix it before the deal falls apart. So we know that sometimes our lives in real estate is really not family friendly. And sometimes you think back when you had that 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, like, man, I just wish I can just be done with work and not have to answer my phone after 4 or 5. So that's just not how it works in real estate. So it's not always, the best feeling. It has been family trips and, some of my kids first that I've missed, because I got a whole business to manage, and I got buyers and sellers that I'm working with. So it can be tough on top of, managing, 80 agents now at this point. Now, one thing I will say that I'm very thankful for is that I do have some real supportive agents, just like yourself, Angie. You step in a lot of times and have co-taught with me some of my new agent training classes and also some of my new agent orientation classes. So I do have some team players, that work at Scott Realty. So I'm very thankful that I do have agents that definitely helps out, that definitely steps in and help a lot of the new agents along the way.
Well,
Okay.
speaking of your agents, now Scott Realty has grown, Scott Realty Professionals, that is. Scott
Mhm.
Realty Professional has grown a lot. I know since when I came in 2018, it probably was about 30 agents at the time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it has been tremendous growth since then. So tell the audience about the growth of Scott Realty in terms of number of agents and how that's fared for you.
Yeah, so Scott Realty have grown tremendously over the past years, and we continue to grow. I have agents that call me daily or every other day that reaching out, or they're in school. So people that are in school and looking to be real estate agents that have been inspired by me, or even some of our Scott Realty agents, to now become a real estate agent, and they reach out and say, hey, I'm working on it. This is where I am, and I definitely want to join. So I think social media plays a huge role in that as well, because, we post a lot of things, a lot of activities, a lot of things that we involve, a lot of community service, events that we participate in. And then also you guys post a lot of cute pictures, and you're at closing deals, and, they just think, oh, just life is great, with being a real estate agent. So that is also assisted. So I thank y'all also for helping recruit. Scott Realty have definitely grown. We're now up to 80 agents. And that is between South Carolina and Georgia. We do have agents in Augusta, the Atlanta area. We cover Charleston, Hilton Head, Beaufort, the Bluffton area, and just, probably half of the state of Georgia. So we are out there and we are working. And, if anybody needs anything, call Scott Realty.
How difficult is that to manage a firm where you are doing real estate across more than one state?
Well, it's just funny because, COVID has now changed a lot of people's thought about, being across half the world, right? And, you can now live in Savannah and make California money, right? And just work from home. So now it's so different than what it was before. So even with agents being in Atlanta, Augusta, Yemassee, Beaufort, and they may be an hour, 2 hours away, or maybe even 3 or 4 hours away. We're just a phone call away. We're just a Zoom call away. So it's just so much easier now, especially since we've, gone through the pandemic. So even with my training classes, now we have our office meetings where we used to have them in office. Now we have our office meetings on Zoom every month. All of the agent trainings are mostly on Zoom, except for the last class. So all of that has really been working out. So it definitely supports, having a larger number of people without them having to be physically in the building. And of course, you guys know with real estate, mostly every real estate agent got a home office. So you don't have to be in the office, with people or anything. Most of the time you're running out, you're showing houses, you're doing listing appointments, and you're running back home, trying to get paperwork together and trying to, cook or get yourself together at home as well at the same time. So many real estate agents have their own home office. So it's not how it used to be or how it used to look back 10, 15 years ago, where everybody came in the office and if you're not in the office, you're not making money. That is absolutely not the truth. A lot of my top producers don't even come into the office. So you can definitely be home. So that definitely works, especially for real estate.
Okay, I think, Sabria, great conversation thus far, and we're loving it. Now we got to take a commercial break though. So hold on a second, and we're going to come back and get back on Scott Realty Professionals and Sabria Scott, the owner broker. Commercial.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, and we're still here. Lynn's on real estate, and we're here still with today's guest, our very first guest, and that is Sabria Scott, the owner broker of Scott Realty Professionals. So we've been having great conversations thus far, and we want to go ahead and continue talking to Sabria. Now, Sabria, you have several professional real estate certifications and designations. And we're going to talk about a few of those. And for the audience, you know, like you, educator, they might have a master's degree, BBS, Masters of Business Administration, da 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 da, behind their names. So in real estate, similar thing. You can get these what we call certifications and designations. And we're going to have Sabria tell you about a few of those because she has a number of them.
Well, I actually thought you was going to tell me which ones you wanted to know about.
Well, in particular,
But
let's talk about the one I know you have, the general ones. Let's talk about the EBS and the SRS, those two generalized ones. But then I think you recently got one that deals with your consulting, and one that deals with I don't know whether you with the luxury, but I believe you got some certification or designation about consulting. Did you not?
Well, I've taken some consulting classes, and it's just a little bit different in a consulting world than what it is in a real estate world. So they don't necessarily consider, you know, when you take classes and you finish that it is a designation, right?
Okay.
So like one of the best designations I have is GRI, and that is the Graduate Realtors Institute. That one is probably the most time consuming and probably the most difficult designation that you'll get outside of getting a commercial CCIM designation. So that's a whole nother level. But Graduate Realtor Institute is kind of like the master's degree in real estate, right? So it is a 3-part class, a 3-part series of different classes. And you really learn a lot. And so I would say that is one of my favorites. I learned the most with that designation. I just learned how to be a better realtor. I learned things about marketing. I learned things about budgeting. I learned things about my taxes. I learned things about, you know, managing and owning a brokerage. So it was, you know, very instrumental in a lot of the things and a lot of the things that I implement within Scott Realty. So a real GRI is one of the best designations that I would recommend an agent to look at. Another one I think is really good is the MRP. That is the military relocation professional. And basically, it just helps you understand how it is to work with military buyers. Sometimes you're working with buyers that are not here locally, and we got to go out and video houses, and you know, we got to be to the walkthrough, and we got to be to the home inspection. And so it just talks about and prepare you as an agent or broker on how to better service our servicemen and women. So I think that is another designation that I really like, and that I think that all agents or realtors should actually look into getting.
And that's a prime example of not necessarily resting on your laurels. You do find and realtors and that, you know, they become realtors, but they don't continue the education. There is a mandate about education, but you can also do things on your own, take these other courses, and like information is knowledge. So, you know, I gotta say, I'm one for that. We're kindred spirits when it comes to that, Sabria. You know, getting into that educational portion or added information. So great. Now we want to thank Grover Thornton, one of our viewers, who says, "Build on your empire, sister." And we also want to thank another awesome comment from that was Oof Ellis. Awesome, Black Girls Rock.
Hey.
So we thank our viewers, and we want you to chat with us. And if you have any questions, you can do that as well. So moving on, Let's see, out of your countless positive complimentary testimonials, because I know and I've seen them, how do you handle any that may have been negative?
Well, the biggest thing is that you never want a buyer or a seller to leave a transaction feeling like they've been taken advantage of, or they didn't like the way the process went, or you just didn't get the right vibe from each other. So even if I feel like, hey, because everybody's personality doesn't always match, right? And I say this often to agents. If you think that the it's not fitting, if the buyer and yourself is not a great match, or the seller and yourself is not a great match, don't lose that client, refer them. We got some agents like Lisa, like one of my agents, that she's so nice that she get along with everybody, right? So instead of me losing the deal because I know that me and this person's personality just does not match, I'll refer them out to somebody I think that can better service them and still be a support person in that transaction. So if I see it going wrong, because most of the time, if it's a problem within a deal, you catch it early on. It just doesn't start at the end. So, fortunately, I've been able to work through many things and not end it on a bad note, because I don't like the way that feels. And I definitely don't want anybody leaving from Scott Realty or working with any of my agents or myself and feeling like it just was a horrible experience. Mm-hmm. So I'm the person that usually try to, if I see it's not working, let's try to look at it a different way. Let me pair you with somebody else that I feel like will be a little bit more in tune with you, or that you guys' personality may match. So fortunately, I haven't had people to give me any negative reviews or anything like that. Now, we have had a review here or there from people who never dealt with the company, and they'll leave some random spam or, just hateful message. But overall, most people have great experiences with Scott Realty. And if I see that it's going a different route, even if it's with one of my agents, I try to intervene and come up with different strategies so we all can be, on the same page, and everything just happens smoothly towards the end. So that is me. I don't want the friction, not between us and any other agents or buyers or sellers. I want to try to work it out so everybody feel like it was a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Sabria, I know you have several different designations, and what would you consider, or do you consider yourself a niche realtor? Is there a certain area of real estate that you enjoy more than others?
That's a trick question. So, of course, everybody wants these big deals that you make a whole lot of money off of, but the reality is that's not really our life. Right. So, one time, I joke about it all the time. At one time, I sold a lot of land, and I sold a lot of mobile homes, and just, a lot of first-time home buying, first-time home buyers' homes. And then, you'll go through a phase where you're selling a whole bunch of homes between 400,000 and 600,000. So our market goes through phases. The market trends go through phases. So I would not say that I am a niche agent where all I deal with is luxury, or I only do commercial, or I only do land. I do everything. And, I tell my agents all the time, don't just put yourself in a box. You're just so talented. You can kind of work across the board. Now, you can't do absolutely everything, right? But you can definitely do a lot of things. So it doesn't have to be that, oh, I only specialize in waterfront, or, oh, I only specialize in beach properties. You want to definitely make yourself available, because everybody is not on that level, or they can't afford that certain price point. And you don't want to intimidate people not to call you and not to reach out to Angela E, because all she sells is $1 million land, right? So I'm not a niche agent. My company is not a niche agency. We are just across the board. We do residential, we do commercial, and we also do property management.
Okay. So, Sabria, tell us a little bit the difference between residential and commercial properties. Tell the audience a bit about that.
Right. So residential are properties that you live in, right? So, as a homeowner buy a single family home, that's residential. You can buy a property that is a 4-unit home, that's residential. You can also buy a property that is a 8-unit home that is commercial, but then it's still residential. What? Because residential means people live there. Commercial is typically your commercial buildings. That could be a restaurant building, that could be an office building, that could be a car lot, it could be a gas station, but it also can be a house. We got some houses that a zoning flips to commercial and it's actually a residential home. So it can get a little tricky, but overall, mostly commercial are places that people do business out of and they don't live. Residential properties are people live there, whether they're owning it or they actually are there renting.
Okay, great. Now we're going to maybe move on and segue into another component of questions that we wanted to talk to you about, and that's more dealing with your future. And we also had a little bit, we wanted to talk a little bit about legacy and the term that we hear a lot, the wealth building components. And real estate is one of the main components of people building generational wealth. So what are your feelings about that?
Well, I think that, that real estate is very important. And I think that it is, one of the number one ways to build generational wealth. And I think that, we need to start positioning our young ones, as early as 18 and 19 coming out of school to have that kind of thought. When I graduated from high school and I went into college, and then I ended up renting for years and years. I think back about it, and I had always had a full-time job, that I should have been bought a house, and now that I'm selling houses to 19 and 20-year-olds, my mind was nowhere there, but that's because that wasn't the norm. And that's not what my friends were doing. That's not what was around me, right? So I think that one of the things that we need to do and do a better job of is educating our high school students that how important real estate is and how it builds generational wealth. And if you're going to get out of school and you're going to move out your mom's house because you can't wait to get out, but you're going to be renting for another 5-10 years, you could actually buy as long as you have a job. So I think real estate is ideal. And I'm going to be honest with you right now, what real estate is doing, whether you're doing rentals, vacation rentals, long-term rentals, it's going to give you a much better return than what your 401k is doing right now. So I think that real estate is necessary to be a part of your portfolio for generational wealth. And I just recently taught a real estate intro to investing class. And we had over 75 people that joined the actual class. And I was super excited about that, just to know that so many people are now interested in it and realize that real estate is one of the main ways for you to start building that generational wealth.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 100% agree with what you said, Sabria. I know a lot of times I tell my clients, as long as they're paying rent, they're making their landlord wealthy as opposed to creating something for themselves. So just speaking about today, what is, in your opinion, what do you think the market is doing now?
Well, I think right now the market is leveling off. It's becoming a little bit more stable. Because of the rise in the interest rates, of course, it is affecting our market. We've seen that over the last 2 months, where at one point you had 30 buyers and had you running around with your head chopped off, showing houses, 10, 15 houses, losing bids left and right. And now, it's kind of quiet. A lot of those buyers say, hey, the interest rate is too high. So right now, the people that are buying are the people who have to buy and the smart people who know that anytime is a good time to buy real estate, as long as those numbers work. And even though you might be buying, at a higher time, right? The price tag may be a little higher, but just tell me the numbers make sense. If I'm going to buy a property at 150,000, and my payment is going to be $1,000, and I can get $1,700 in rent, that's a no-brainer. So even though that same house a year ago was worth maybe 110, so now I feel like I'm overpaying, but I'm not really, because the rents wasn't $1,700 2 years ago or a year ago, right? So you just have to explain to your clients and explain to people why it's always a good time to buy. And even though the interest rate is higher than what it was a year or two ago, but we may not never see 3% interest rates again. Honestly, when you look back now at 2006, 2007, we were right where we were then. I mean, the interest rates were 6%, 6.25%. And that's where we are now.
Yeah, I agree. I sometimes I tell my clients that when I bought my first house back in the 90s, I might be dating myself. I had 11% interest rate, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so good. I think back in COVID, and that was during the Clinton administration, but I think during COVID, I think that was just a fluke time, for interest rates to be as low as they were. So looking toward the future, what do you see for your real estate firm in 5 years?
Well, I'm just following God. I tell people all the time, God, I don't know where you're taking me, but hey, I'm in it for the ride. I'm in it for the long run. So that's what I would say. I'm continuing to educate my agents. I'm continuing to support my agents. And I am continuing to support our community. So as long as our community continue to support us back, we're here to stay. And 5 years from now, I don't know exactly where I'll be, but it will definitely be in God's path.
Would you ever consider retiring from real estate?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say retiring, because I'm scared of that. Like, I'm seeing people get older and not really moving around and doing stuff, so I think I'm probably going to always be doing something. I might start doing a little bit more of some of my hobbies and things that I like, down the road, more than real estate. But I feel like real estate was meant to be. It wasn't something that I originally chose. It wasn't even my first choice of a career when I graduated from college. So I feel like it's definitely here to stay. Now, to what capacity, I'm not sure. But Scott Realty continues to make leaps and bounds here in the South Carolina and the Georgia area. We are considered to be a small and definitely a woman-owned, minority-owned firm. And the numbers that we are turning is that, we're not a franchise. We are up there with those franchises. So we are truly blessed here, and we are continuing to grow.
So, Sabria, do you feel like you've broken the glass ceiling? Is there one in real estate? Do you feel like you've broken it?
So I don't think, to me, there's no ceiling. And it's funny because when I first realized and learned, when I was in real estate school, that no one could control my income, no one could control my ceiling, that is what had me over the top. Because, me as myself as an educator, it's every dime I make is pretty much a systematic growth, right? At a certain point of education level, you make this. If you've been in the education for 3 years, you make this, then you move up to this and that. But at some point, this is your top, right? So you'll be there at your top for 20, 30 years, and that's just where you are. Well, for me, that was a problem, and when I realized with real estate that I determine what my income is, I determine what my ceiling or my cap is. And if I didn't want to put a cap or a ceiling on it, I didn't have to. So I would definitely say that there's no ceiling and there's no cap for myself.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So you also mentioned earlier, you spoke about the class that you did in terms of the investing, and I attended that class. It was a wonderful class. You spoke also about, well, you having development of your personal portfolio, and currently have a number of units under your belt. Can you talk a little bit about that without having to divulge everything, but just share a little bit about you personally and your growth in real estate, coming up with your properties and portfolio?
Yeah, so in 2005, my sister and I, we purchased our first investment property, and it was a duplex here in Savannah. And then right after that, I closed on my primary residence, and then we just kind of went from there. So now I own, I guess, maybe over 30 units. I do own 3 commercial buildings now, and all of them are multi-unit buildings. And I do own quite a few residential single family homes. So I am consistently, steadily building my portfolio. Now that I know what I know now, and I didn't know back in 2008 and 2009, because I should have bought up a whole lot of properties when the market was like, crazy with foreclosures. But I learned as a responsible and an educated realtor that you don't just wait for those times. You continue to buy as long as the numbers make sense and as long as it fits your strategy in investing.
Fabulous.
So if someone wanted to get into real estate as an agent, what would be your best advice for them?
Well, the first thing I would say is definitely, research and then shadow. Research the business. Understand that it is 100% it's commission based, and that you have to work really hard. It's not easy. You guys know, like I know, me getting into real estate, I didn't have a lot of direction, didn't have shadowing opportunities, didn't have a lot of support. So I kind of had to figure out things on my own. Also, my sister, she had became an agent the year before me, so she was also very supportive. And she's in the Atlanta area. But I recommend that you definitely research, you shadow agents, spend a day in the life of an agent to see if this is something that you're really interested in. Because you got a lot of agents that go to school, get their license, and realize that real estate is not for me. I'm scared to go in houses. I don't like people. I don't want to give out my car. So you got to make sure that this is really for you and that you are truly a salesperson.
And we did have a question for you that asked, why don't agents do well? Those that fall out and don't do well are some of what you just mentioned. Could those be some of the reasons?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got some people that they're just not being on a commission-based job. They can't handle the pay structure. They can't handle that they may not get paid for the first 5 or 6 months, in the business, and that they may be really busy running around showing a lot of houses. It's funny because one of my agents, she's also a property manager here at Scott Realty. When she first got into business, and she's a hairstylist. I was a hairstylist for like 15 years as well. But she said, Sabria, when she first got in, she was running around, showing all these houses and writing a bunch of offers, but none of them got accepted. She said, well, one thing I'll tell you, I'm a professional contract writer. So you may become a professional contract writer, for a while before you have that first deal. So some people give up. We live in a world that we all want immediate gratification. We want everything to happen immediately. We give somebody our business card today and we want them to call us today or tomorrow. We a year from now or 6 months from now is not good for us. So some agents can't even stand the wait. So it's a lot of work. The commission base is very different structure. So if you're not used to it, that can be very difficult. And then also being a real estate agent is expensive. We have a lot of expenses up front, and these boards and these expenses keep coming even if you don't make any money. So you got to be prepared for that as well. So it's many different reasons, but also too, you also got to make sure that your personality works. Are you really a people's person? I have some agents that say, well, I don't even like to give people my cards. Well, you're going to be the secret agent. Mm-hmm. So, you just got to reevaluate yourself and make sure it's a great fit for you. Right. For you to be successful, because Diane, that we got to attend events where sometimes we don't know anybody. You got to go around and socialize and talk and, try to get business and, just let people know where you're from and what you do. So I just think that the agents that don't do well, sometimes it's just not for them, but also too, they got to be willing to put in the time, the energy, the effort to educate themselves, to be involved, to also go out to different events and to also be knowledgeable about what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, absolutely. Well, Sabria, we're gonna give you a moment to catch your breath. We're gonna do this one more commercial. So let's go to commercial right now.
All righty.
So we're back.
Hey.
And we got a few more minutes. Our show is going to be wrapping up in about 5 minutes or so. So we've got a few more minutes with you, Sabria. And once again, while I'm thinking of it, we just appreciate you so much for even taking the time to come on and also definitely being our first guest. We very much appreciate our first great guest. So thank you very much.
Well, no problem. And you guys can have me back. So, it was no problem for me to hop on, and I'm still here in the office at work. So you guys can see that I'm in the conference room. So this is what I mean. It's 7:00 and I'm still at work. So you got to understand how real estate really works. It's not a flexible job. A lot of people jump in and say, hey, I want to get in real estate because it's flexible. It can work. I get off at a certain time. Life is great. So I don't necessarily want to be to work at 7 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is one that you got to be self-motivated. No question about that. You got to be your own cheerleader from time to time to push through to deal with people, etc. But again, just like what Diane was saying, we definitely appreciate your time. Just give us a quick little synopsis of why should someone pick Scott Realty as their real estate agent?
Oh, well, look at you guys. Y'all are on a podcast. Both of y'all are with Scott Realty. Both of y'all are associate brokers. So that is one of the reasons that, you guys are educated. and y'all don't mind going to school. Y'all don't mind doing the research and just doing the things necessary to go above and beyond for your clients. So that is the number one reason why you should definitely choose Scott Realty. We are community partners with so many different organizations. We give back a tremendous amount of our time, financial support, etc., to our community. Not only that, we're very knowledgeable. And we stay on top of the changing market and things that's going on. As Diane said, that she's kind of like me, or I'm kind of like her because she's my aunt. That we don't mind going to class, and we don't mind getting designations, and we don't mind the training, and just learning how to be better, learning how to better assist our clients, and that is what Scott Realty is all about. So I am, as I always say, I'm a professional student. We love what we do here at Scott Realty. We work as a family. We support one another. So it is no reason why you should choose any other firm other than Scott Realty, other than Diane, other than Angela E., to be your real estate agent.
No reason whatsoever. And I always tell, when I do a buyer consultation or a seller consultation, I always tell them, I've been in real estate for 4 years. However, my broker has been in real estate for well over 30, you said 20 years, right?
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, so, and I tell them, if I don't know the answer, I know she does. So, because one thing too, you don't want to give wrong information and want people thinking you know everything. But I do let them know we got the wherewithal to get you the information that you need and get it correctly. So
absolutely.
Yes. So once again, Sabria, thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully our audience, and I know they have, not hopefully, they have enjoyed you, because I see the comments that have come in. They're just very complimentary. Great advice, ladies. I pray that other young ladies will see this. So how great can you get with that comment? How great can you get? So we thank you, Sabria. So we're going to let you go, and we're going to close out this first episode of Lens on Real Estate. So we'll talk to you soon. And Angela, we're going to hang on in there for a couple of seconds or so.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I wish you all the best. And as I said, just let me know. I'll stop back by. Congratulations on your first episode. Okay. And I'm sure the best is yet to come.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabria, for all that you do.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Angela, we got through our first episode, and it was wonderful. And we want to let our audience know that, reach out to Lens on Real Estate. I believe we got a banner here, but it's lensonrealestate@gmail.com. If there's any realtor or anybody in the profession that has seen our show today and you're interested in coming on and speaking and sharing and allowing us to question you, and also allowing you to share some information about yourselves and what you do, because it is all very, very significant and all very, very important. So reach out to lensonrealestate@gmail.com if you're interested in being on our show. We want to talk to you. So thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank y'all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
like that.